Hey, Albertan separatists, I got a question for you guys. So Alberta separates. How do you get your oil to market? Like what ports, what pipelines? The ones that are owned by the federal government? The ones that are in different provinces? What currency are you going to use? What pension are you going to be part of? Where is your healthcare going to come from? Like, how are you going to operate? What kind of government style are you going to have? Who's going to lead that first government? How are you going to make sure that first election occurs in a timely fashion? Right? How are you going to get the things that you need? You don't have access to all the food and all the different resources that you need to establish an economy. How are you going to develop international relationships with countries that are allied with Canada and then see you as being a bit of an impediment to the Canadian success story? How are you going to do anything? Are you going to ally with the US? Are you going to become the 51st state? Do you think that Trump would actually do that? You think that Trump wouldn't just subjugate you, take your oil, take your wealth, leave you guys out to hang to dry? You lose your healthcare, you become American. What are you going to do? What about the Canadians who are in Alberta who don't want to be Canadian? What about the Canadians in Alberta who don't want to be Albertan? Like, how do we deal with passports, right? Citizenship? Are you going to let people leave, right? You're going to let Canadians who want to be part of the new Albertan nation come into Alberta? You're going to just let those refugees in? We're not going to have a system for that? Like, well, how are you really logically going to do this? I'm not saying don't be upset. I'm not saying don't voice your opinion. I'm not saying don't talk about how you feel alienated. I think that it's valid that people in different parts of the country feel alienated, especially when most of the political power in this country is concentrated within Ontario and Quebec. I think it's extremely valid for people in different parts of the country, especially different ideologies, to feel as though their voice isn't always heard in government. Let's talk about that. But if you want to leave, how? You're not going to be able to use our currency. Our currency won't become your currency. Our pension plan won't be your pension plan. You cash it out, it's not going to be as much money as you think. Danielle Smith is lying to you about that part. Seriously, pipelines. The federal government owns the pipelines. Banff, a bunch of other places in Alberta are federal lands. Some of them are treaty lands. Some of them you don't actually have ownership to. They're owned by the Indigenous peoples. So, like, what parts stay Albertan and what parts are still owned by Canada or the Indigenous peoples? Because I'm pretty sure the Indigenous peoples are not going to want to leave Canada to become a part of a sovereign Albertan nation. If anything, they're going to want to become their own nation, and they're going to want to take their own lands. So you're going to hold on to those lands with what military? With what militia? You're going to do all this how exactly? What economic system are you guys going to employ? How's your taxation system going to work? Just like, have you thought about these things? I'm not saying don't have a thought experiment where you're talking about the values of being part of the Canadian Confederation. I think that we need to exercise that. We need to talk about that. We need to actually have a really deep conversation about the value that being a united Canada brings to all of us. But if you're going to legitimately talk about separating and leaving, have a real exit strategy. Like, know what you're going to do. And if you think that I'm not giving you enough credit, explain to me in the comments. How would you do this? How would it work? Let's talk about it. I'll make some video replies. Like, let's have a back and forth here, because I just legitimately don't understand how you think it would work. I just don't.